need to know if Phil needs to run to Roanoke to get a projector. So can you just give me a call when you get this and let me know? Thanks.
Jenny Gallagher has a lot on her plate. She juggles the demands of raising 3 young children while devoting her free time as a first-time volunteer for the Obama campaign here in Blacksburg, Virginia.
My name is Jenny Gallagher, and I'm one of the team leaders here in Blacksburg.
Gallagher says she's motivated by Obama's policies to help middle-class families like hers. But she says she was also deeply affected when she heard about a bill that was introduced in the Republican-dominated Virginia General Assembly last winter.
When that bill came about, I was so angry.
That bill would have required that a woman have an ultrasound 24 hours prior to an abortion. For many women, that would have meant an internal transvaginal procedure. It was one of several bills proposed that critics say were designed to curb abortion.
I used to be pro-life, and I really feel like what's been happening, especially here in Virginia in the last year with women's issues, has really caused me to take a step back and look at what I believe. You know, I wish that abortion wasn't necessary. It's not a choice that I personally don't think I would ever make, but I will support another woman's right to do that.
Opponents of the bill staged a silent protest outside the state capitol. Many claim that the enforced internal procedure that the bill was calling for was an invasion of privacy. Some went as far as calling it state-sanctioned rape. The bill was eventually amended, but protests continued because the state now requires women in Virginia to undergo a non-internal abdominal ultrasound 24 hours prior to an abortion, except in cases of rape or incest.
The legislation and, and the comments that have come out of the Republican Party recently, they just reaffirm that I know where my vote needs to be. I know where my vote needs to go. I know who I need to vote for, and it's not Mitt Romney. Okay, let me see.
In fact, Gallagher volunteered to appear in an Obama campaign ad designed to make women's reproductive rights a central issue in Virginia in the upcoming election.
I've never felt this way before, but it's a scary time to be a woman. Mitt Romney is just so out of touch.
Mitt Romney opposes requiring insurance coverage for contraception, and Romney supports overturning Roe v. Wade.
There's so much we need to do. We need to attack our problems, not a woman's choice.
I mean, that was a very, very public way of expressing your support for him.
Yeah.
Why did you do that, though? Why so public?
I was a little hesitant because choice is such a divisive issue, and I was a little bit worried that my family or I would face some kind of attacks, from that. But I couldn't not do it.
President Obama already enjoys a commanding lead among women in swing states, including here in Virginia, where he leads Mitt Romney by 12 points. And in a state where more than half of registered voters are women, the Obama campaign is working hard to hold on to that lead, especially as he trails Romney among men by 6 points.
He's made his choice. But what choices will women be left with?
The Obama campaign has been running ads focused on Romney and Ryan's positions on abortion and contraception. They've also tried to nurture a grassroots Women for Obama group in Virginia. Jenny Gallagher works closely with the group and supports their efforts.
How important are those types of issues to you?
I think in 2008, I would have said not at all, because when you have something that has never been threatened, you just take it for granted, right? Like women's issues were completely off my radar. I've said before that it's a scary time for me as a woman and as a mother of a daughter, and that could not be more true. I don't want to see the rights that we have, taken back 50 or 60 years. These fights have already been fought by women. We don't need to do it again.
I thought that we'd already fought those battles, and I had no idea that we would be redoing this.
Catherine Waddell is a native Virginian and a grandmother of 3.
That's my granddaughter. That's
huge. When the ultrasound bill controversy erupted earlier this year, she and 7 other women got together and formed the Women's Strike Force, a bipartisan Virginia political action committee dedicated to electing pro-choice candidates from either party in the 2013 Virginia elections.
You were down there when this bill was being considered. I mean, why were you there? What's your stake in this?
Because I'm pro-choice, because I believe if you ask anyone the question, who should make decisions about women's reproductive health care? A woman and her doctor or the government? You'll find that most people will answer a woman and her doctor. And in talking to my doctor, my OBGYN, she has said that they have now gotten to the point where they are interfering with the doctor-patient relationship.
But Waddell is not your typical pro-choice Democrat.
Oh, that's George W. Bush when he was much younger.
She's actually a longtime Republican who for many years worked for state politicians. She also served a 2-year term as a delegate in the Virginia General Assembly.
I'm right there. Oh, yeah.
But as a board member of an organization called the Republican Majority for Choice, she has felt deeply conflicted over the direction of her party.
I believe in limited government. And I think that when you start getting involved in what's happening in people's personal lives, then that's no longer limited government. That's big government invasion. And I'm very opposed to that. I used to go to meetings and I would say, I am passionately Republican and I am passionately pro-choice. Now it's very difficult for me to say I'm passionately Republican.
She has voted Republican in past presidential elections, but she says the rhetoric coming from the party over the last few months regarding women's issues has her struggling with who to vote for this time around.
Where do you see yourself now? I mean, do you feel let down by your party?
Absolutely, I do. They are making it difficult for women who support women's reproductive rights. So I'm having a hard time weighing all of those things and making my choice. And I probably will do that when I go into the booth in November.
Under Obama's economy, it's just not getting better.
The Romney campaign is determined to get women to focus not on reproductive issues, but on the weak economy and on the president's handling of it as the national unemployment rate remains consistently above 8%. Romney's first campaign stop in the state as the presumptive Republican nominee this past spring was at a woman-owned business in Northern Virginia.
Dear daughter, welcome to America. Your share of Obama's debt is over $50,000, and it grows every day.
And the campaign has launched ads like this, making the argument that women have suffered disproportionately in this economy.
More women are unemployed under President Obama. More than 5.5 million women can't find work.
On the ground, Romney volunteers get together to drive home that message.
Which party do you think can best fix the economy, the Republican or Democrat?
On this Monday night in Henrico County, just outside Richmond, a Women for Mitt phone banking event is in full swing, with women making calls to other women, asking questions not about abortion or contraception, but about the economy. Some women here are volunteering for a presidential campaign for the first time.
Perfect. All right, you're ready.
Elizabeth Butler is one of them. She's a stay-at-home mom with 2 children. Butler's husband owns a small advertising company, and their concerns center around keeping costs down for the business and staying within their means at home.
The campaigns are trying very hard to get women voters on their side. As a woman, what are your biggest concerns?
You know, it all kind of comes back to the economy for me, that the economy is doing well. You don't know what's coming next. We don't know, with the tax cliff coming in January, whether, we'll have to pay a lot more or whether we can just sort of budget the same way we are now.
Butler says she's heard the Obama ads targeting women, but that as a pro-life Republican, she agrees with Romney's stances on reproductive issues. But at the end of the day, they aren't at the top of her list of concerns in the coming election.
When I look at what's happening in our country and the amount of crisis that we're having right now, it's just not registering. Women aren't talking about that. So it's not that they aren't interested in that. Every now and then you have, a cocktail with friends and, have a good discussion about it. But Women just aren't talking about reproductive rights. Women certainly are not considering abortion to be a top discussion point for this campaign.
But some women would say these are issues that we can't let go to the side, that these are very important to be discussed right now.
Right, and those are the folks that are continuing to bring it up. And that's okay. It's okay to talk about it.
Back in Blacksburg, Jenny Gallagher and the other Obama volunteers are gearing up for the last couple of months of campaigning. At this organizational meeting, one of the topics they discuss, women's reproductive issues.
And those are the kinds of things that are at stake for women on the reproductive end, right?
The Romney campaign says that these social issues pertaining to women's reproductive rights are kind of a distraction, that they're taking away from the real issues like the economy. What do you say to that?
I say that that's completely false. I mean, we do not shy away from the president's record on the economy. And as far as the women's issues being a distraction, that's something that a man would say, you know. I do not feel like my rights are a distraction, you know. And when I talk about women's issues, I don't just mean choice. My children having money to go to college, that is a women's issue. Having access to health care for myself and for my children that I can afford, that is a woman's issue.
For Elizabeth Butler, talk of reproductive issues takes away from what she thinks are more pressing concerns. And she believes that the attacks on the Republican Party are unjustified.
Some women's groups have said that there's a war on women being waged right now by the Republican Party. Do you agree with that?
Well, if there is a war on women, I'm definitely not feeling it. I mean, the women that I interact with they like the Republican Party. The Republican Party represents the values that we have and the values that we're trying to teach our children.
He didn't even make it through the primary.
As for Catherine Waddell, she says she'll continue to devote her time and energy to keeping women's reproductive rights front and center.
We spoke to a few women who said, yeah, that they have concerns about reproductive rights, but this is not the right election for that this is all about the economy.
Sure, jobs and the economy are important, but so are women's reproductive rights and women's access to good health care, from breast exams to pap smears, all of that. I don't think any woman can dismiss women's reproductive rights and say that this is not the right campaign for that. It's always the right campaign for that.